Welcome back, my fellow patriots, to the Save Our Republic daily episode. I have a confession to make. I've been pulling your leg. 2 episodes ago, it was all about why history wasn't important, and at the very end, I said I was being sarcastic. And then yesterday's episode, I said the history is important. I went through the 10 top reasons why history is important, but really, there's an 11th reason, which is the most important. But I wanted to cover the other 10 first before we dived into this one. And I'm going to go to my book, America's Survival Guide, How to Stop America's Impending Suicide by Reclaiming Our Founding First Principles in History. You can get it at americasurvivalguide.com. And I'm going to read a couple of passages from it. Please indulge me if you have purchased the book. I know several of you have that have been watching this consistently. But these are really good, and I think you can never have too much of this reminder about the importance of history. Even at the dawn of the Constitution, the Founding Fathers were well aware that such principled comprehension of our history would need to be fostered and expanded if the Republic were to remain free. At his state's ratifying convention, Governor Samuel Huntington of Connecticut reflected the prevailing sentiment when he declared that, quote, "The people themselves must be the chief support of liberty. While the great body of freeholders are acquainted with the duties for which they owe to their God, to themselves, and to men, they shall remain free. But if ignorance and depravity should prevail, they will inevitably lead to slavery and ruin," unquote. Concurring with Huntington, Thomas Jefferson, obviously a visionary in the truest sense of the word regarding education, strongly advocated the establishment of public education by law and state constitutional amendment. Although he proposed such schools for many reasons, Jefferson explained in his influential Notes on the State of Virginia in 1787. Remember, there weren't any public schools back then, so he's really on the cutting edge here, that the most important and legitimate reason for having public education was, quote, "that of rendering the people safe, as they are to be the ultimate guardians of their own liberty," unquote. He proposed that reading be learned through, quote, "chiefly historical," unquote, text, because understanding history was the key to protecting liberty. And here's another passage from Jefferson. "History, by apprising them of the past, will enable them to judge of the future. It will avail them of the experience of other times and other nations. It will qualify them to know ambition and designs of men. It will enable them to know ambition under every disguise it may assume, and knowing it, to defeat its views. And every government on earth is some trace of human weakness, some germ of corruption and degeneracy, which cunning will discover and wickedness insensibly open, cultivate, and improve. Every government degenerates when trusted to the rulers of the people alone. The people themselves, therefore, are its only safe depositories, and to render them safe, their minds must be improved to a certain degree. This indeed is not all that is necessary, though it be essentially necessary." Let me repeat that sentence. This indeed is not all that is necessary, though it be essentially necessary. An amendment of our Constitution must here come in aid of public education. The influence over government must be shared among the people. If every individual which composes their mass participates of the ultimate authority, the government will be safe, unquote. And Chief Justice Earl Warren, not my relative, but my namesake, stated that Americans nearly uniformly believed not that long ago that our citizens could not, quote, "delegate to any or all of their governmental representatives the full responsibility for protection of our freedoms from the processes of erosion. Such protection can be had only through an understanding on the part of the individual citizens of what these freedoms are, how they came into being, and whether their spirit dominates our institutions and the life of our country," unquote. So there you have it. As Jefferson said, it's not enough to know your history to preserve your liberty, but it has to have a foundation in understanding your history, or you can't protect your freedoms and liberty. And we have had generations of educational malpractice where our students graduate from K through 12 schools, which Jefferson advocated for the creation of, so that people would be citizens informed in our history and our civics and understand our Constitution, and instead they're graduating without even the barest minimum necessary to preserve our freedoms and liberty. That is a very, very grave threat to our survival as a free people. Reflect on that. We need to do something right here, right now, to preserve our freedoms. That's how we are where we are today, because we don't understand our Constitution and we don't understand our history. To learn more, again, you can visit americasurvivalguide.com. You can go to patriotweek.org, listen to the podcast, Patriot Lessons, American and History and Civics, and which you can find on any podcast platform, and subscribe and like this series on YouTube or on social media, and please share it. God bless you, and God bless America. I'll see you tomorrow.